What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now in this series I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode. But before we go on, I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic, and that the player ratings and potentials may vary for you depending on what database you're using and how they perform during the season. You don't have to follow all the tips. This is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you could sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those of you out there who may be new to the game and just want some help, or those of you out there who may just be stuck for ideas on what players you could sign for a certain team in career mode. So today, guys, we're going to return to the Premier League. Obviously in the last episode we took a look at Juventus, and now I'm going to take a look at Manchester City, and I'm going to give you my tips on how to improve the boys in blue at the Etihad Stadium. Now the first thing I'll say is this: if I sound a little bit hoarse today, I do apologise for that. Feeling a little bit under the weather. I did want to stream tonight, but unfortunately my new microphone hasn't come, so I wasn't going to upload at all, but I thought because my mic hasn't come, I can't stream tonight, so I'll basically do a new video for you. So if I sound a little bit hoarse, that's why. A little bit ill right now, and just don't really sound my usual self, so sorry if I do come across a little bit different. And the second thing I'll say is this is a monster episode of Who to Sign For. This is going to be crazy. It's like 20 minutes long, and I'd probably say it's the biggest Who to Sign For episode I've ever made. FIFA 16 and FIFA 17 as well. This is absolutely crazy, man, and I really hope you guys enjoy this. So as per usual, we're going to start off with the on-the-pitch objectives for Manchester City. We don't really care about the off-the-pitch objectives, but for on-the-pitch this year, in the first season with Manchester City, you need to win a domestic double, so the FA Cup and also the Premier League as well. And as for the Champions League, they want you to reach the final. So yeah, these are quite strong aims, you know, not a treble, but still having to reach the Champions League final. Gonna be very, very tough despite this really, really good team, and of course to win a domestic double as well. Those are some strong aims, but you can definitely do it with this squad, and with over £100 million in the bank as their budget. It's one of the biggest budgets in the game. £100 million. There is no reason why you can't do it, even though it is quite a difficult challenge. So this is Manchester City squad. You can see they're set up in the three at the back in the game. That's their lineup for the game, and their squad report is right here as well. Obviously in the last episode when we did Juventus, I said the key word really was all about versatility, you know, signing utility players, bringing in players that can play in a different range of positions. This Manchester City side, this is an interesting who to sign for, because with so much money, basically you can sign whoever you want, really, you know, within reason I suppose. Well, to be honest, no, really, whoever you want, to be honest, but it's an awesome side. But the one thing I would say is that it could still be improved periodically, as opposed to just going all out and buying Cristiano Ronaldo, for example. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to try and improve the side every way we can, as opposed to just bringing in one headline signing that I hope would take this club to the next level. Now for contracts, as you can see, quite a lot of players only have 1-year deals. I would say the only player you give a contract to is Angelino, their young Spanish left back. Give him a new deal, but as he's under the age of 23 right now, you don't need to worry about that until the end of the season. And as for players that are loaned out, this is the really interesting thing. Now, of course, I've said about this before, some of you guys may not want to do this because it's unrealistic, but this series is not about realistic signings, realistic gameplay, realistic transfer negotiations and whatnot. This is literally just all about trying to do the best strategy for the team. This is a strategy sort of series, really, and a playthrough, walkthrough type of thing. Well, not a playthrough, but a walkthrough type of thing. So, yeah, in terms of loaning, recalling players from loan, some people might not want to do it, but I definitely would. They've got quite a few players out on loan right now, which are really, really good, and I would say have a role to play in the first team. Nasri, Mangala and Boni, I'd recall all three of those, and I'd also recall one of the goalkeepers too. Geronimo Rulli, who's right now at Real Sociedad, or Joe Hart. Both of these players are loaned out. Rulli's on a short-term loan though, so I'd recall him to the Etihad Stadium and leave Joe Hart at Torino for the full season. So recall 4 players. It'll only cost you a few £1,000,000, and all of those players are 80 rated plus. There's no point in keeping them out on loan. The only player you consider is Rulli, but as they come back in 3 months anyway, I'll just get him back now and pay the extra 100 grand or however much it is. So yeah, I recall all 4 of those players, pay a few £1,000,000 for them, but with all of them being 80 rated plus, just get them back in your side. They're going to do nothing for you whilst they're out on loan, and of course their wages are being paid for, but because City's budget is so astronomical, you don't really need to worry about the financial hit you're taking, because you'll still have more than enough still in the bank after you recall them. So get those 4 guys back. They still have a role to play in your first team. Now as for signings for Manchester City, the one player I'd look to buy straight away is this guy right here, Marco Verratti. Verratti from Paris Saint-Germain. The Italian midfielder, 85 overall, 23 years old, and 90 potential. I put in a valuation bid, and guess what? PSG accepted it. You've got to love those valuation bids right from the beginning, because you just never know when they're going to come off. So PSG accepted my valuation bid, £37.5 million, and we offer the young midfielder a contract. Also, how about this as well? I recalled Wilfried Bony, because I said he could have a role to play in the first team after you recall him from loan, but he got quite a few bids, which was really interesting. Stoke, which I found kind of funny, because I just took him back from Stoke, and now they want to buy him on a permanent deal, and you'll see some other clubs coming for him as well. So if you can sell Wilfried Bony after you've recalled him, it's worth doing, because you may spend about £1 to £2 million recalling the guy, but then you're going to sell him for a lot more after you recall him, because for some reason there was a lot of interest for the Ivorian striker. But anyway, as you can see right here, Verratti did accept his contract, £37.5 million for the midfielder. You'll probably have to spare a little bit more. Obviously, I was a little bit lucky with the valuation bid coming off, but he's a really, really awesome player. He'll sit alongside Ilkay Gundogan in that holding midfield role. He's got those high work rates, which I absolutely love, and are really, really important for a defensive midfielder. You also want to bomb up the pitch and be a box-to-box midfielder as well. He'd be a really, really smart signing, I think, and for City as well, for £37.5 million, you can get him for valuation. He'd be an absolute bargain. I'd also look for another striker as well then. As I said, if you recalled Wilfried Bony, you might just want to keep the Ivorian as your backup striker coming off the bench this season, but if you find, like I did as well, that a lot of clubs were interested in taking the former Swansea man to their club, then look to sell him, because he's 27 years old, 81 overall, more than good enough to be your bench backup striker for Sergio Aguero. But if you can sell him and look to buy a younger striker with more potential, then I would definitely recommend doing that if you possibly could. As you can see, quite a few players did have their contract up coming at the end of the year. One is Jesus Navas. I'll try and sell him as well. Basically, all the players you saw that have 1 year left on their deals. Chelsea came with Wilfried Bony as well. How about this? All the players you saw a moment ago that have just 1 year left on their deals. If you can sell them for around their valuation, do that straight away, because they'll just leave your club in a pre-contract in January, or you'll release them come the end of the season. It's highly unlikely you look to give players that are in their 30s a new deal. So whenever you see these players get bids for, I try and get valuation. If not, I'll take whatever the clubs say. But anyway, Icardi here, as you can see, has put a new bid of £27 million into. Did not want to accept a valuation bid, as Wilfried Bony got sold to Stoke here for £23 million. I probably could have got a little bit more for Wilfried Bony, to be honest. I just didn't realise the interest, and because of that, I undersold him. But yeah, as you can see right here, once again, a quick follow-up here with Jesus Navas. He's another one of those players who is in their 30s as their contract come the end of the year. You'll see quite a few players City have like that, like Gael Clichy, for example, Willy Caballero. Just try and sell them for anything you can. And even if you can't get valuation for those players, which is what I would encourage, still sell them anyway. Anything is better than nothing for players you're going to leave for free. That's the best way of putting it, and I should have been saying that sentence all along, shouldn't I? Because that'll clarify things way easier for me. I should remember that for the next Who to Sign for episode. Getting anything for them is better than nothing, because they're going to leave for free anyway. So yeah, as you can see here, another player, Pablo Zabaleta from Atletico Madrid. We asked for valuation, but as you'll see, with all the bids that come in for those players you saw a moment ago that have 1 year left in their contracts, the clubs don't want to meet valuation, apart from one club, I think it is, for one player, which you'll see in a minute. But again, even if you're selling them for just under their valuation, like Navas going for £10 million, do it anyway, because at the end of the day, he's going to go for free come the end of the season. So if you're not going to get as much money for him, at least you're getting something that is better than nothing. But as you can see, into a really reluctance to let Icardi go, and I definitely recommend Icardi as a backup striker. He's 23 years old, he has 87 potential, starts off 82 overall, so coming off the bench for Sergio Aguero and playing a couple of midweek games, he's good enough to be a starting striker for most clubs in the Premier League, and for you, he's going to get better and better on the bench, so I would definitely recommend trying to pick him up if you can. But as you can see, into a really, really stubborn, really reluctant to let go of Mauro Icardi. Not a real surprise, as Chelsea put in a bid for him as well whilst I was doing this. Eventually, you'll see they did accept a bid. I put in this final bid for him here, which is £35 million. They did accept it. You might be able to find a better striker for cheaper though. He's valued at £23.5 million. You might find someone who's a little bit better and will cost you a little bit less, or just a better value for money deal. Someone like Harry Kane, for example, for around £45 million. That might look a little bit better than Icardi for £35 million, but I'd still recommend the guy anyway. Again, 23 years old, 82 overall. The guy's got 88 for his finishing stat, and what you want as a backup striker for Sergio Aguero is a guy that knows how to put the ball in the back of the net. Sounds obvious, I know, but you want a reliable goal scorer coming off the bench, because if Aguero ever gets injured or goes into bad form or gets suspended, you want someone that you know can be an able deputy. That is what Mauro Icardi will be for got Sergio Aguero. So if you can get the guy, I definitely would recommend it. And again, with him being Argentine as well, I don't know why, it just kind of seems kind of nice with Aguero being Argentine as well. So you got the two Argentine strikers there. But anyway, I think it'd be a smart signing. And again, for £35 million, it's not a bad deal. It is £11.5 million over his valuation, but you might find a better value for money deal elsewhere. I'd still recommend it though if you could pull it off. So Icardi, as you can see his range of stats here, again, the 88 finishing is what draws me to Icardi straight away. Just a really, really good player. You might be put off by the 2-star skill moves if you're a skiller like me, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. The guy is going to put the ball in the back of the net for you on a regular basis when you play him, and that's what you're signing him for. Now, as for more signings of Manchester City, once you bought Icardi and Verratti, you still got tons of money in the bank. This club is rich, and this is the type of career mode really for fantasy career mode players. You know, if you just want to sign any players you want and build the best squad possible in the first season, this is the career mode for you, because you just keep on buying really awesome players and really good young talents as well. Raphael Varane is the third player we look for, the French centre-half playing for Real Madrid right now. He himself is also in his early 20s right now, and he has 91 potential. Raphael Varane is an absolute monster. He is an absolute god in this game as well. Defensively, I've only had him once before in career mode, but he was absolutely amazing for me, and I know for sure the stats he'll have at full potential, he will be one of the best players in the world. Not just best defenders in the world, but one of the best players in the world. So try and get Varane if you can, especially with City playing a free at the back. This guy will be perfect to slot in alongside two other centre-backs for you. He'd be a monster at the back and a really awesome sign. Again, 23 years old, just like Icardi and Verratti, 84 overall, and with 91 potential, would be a really solid buy. So as you can see in the background, whilst I'm discussing Varane here, you can see that the bids are coming in for these aging players here that have 1 year left on their deal. You'll be noticing that, again, these clubs like Leicester, for example, coming back to us and not wanting to meet valuation is a little bit frustrating. But like I said a minute ago, you do want to make sure you sell these guys as soon as possible. The last thing you want to do is keep them at your club for the rest of the season when they're costing you a significant salary right now. All these players are on bloated salaries. You want to get rid of the guys as soon as possible, because once you've sold them, you free up wage space, if you will, salary space for you to sign better players and sign new players too. And of course, you get a bit of scratch for them as well, which is always helpful. So even if you can't sell them for valuation, keep on accepting those bids, even if they're just a little bit lower than valuation. Take what you can get for players that will be leaving for free anyway. That's the strategy with these type of players, at least for me. But anyway, eventually with Real Madrid, as you can see here, I put in a bit of £40 million for Raphael Varane, and they said yes. Real Madrid, I think, wanted £53 million, but whenever you see a club come back to you and say, we want X for this player, you don't have to go all the way to X. This is something which a lot of people need to learn, because they often ask me, how do you get these good deals in career mode? How do you get these guys on a cheaper deal than I do? You don't have to go all the way as soon as the club says so. You get like 5 negotiations with a club before they eventually pull the plug and say, actually, don't come back to us, you're not meeting the valuation for the player. You get like 5 negotiations. Don't just go all in straight away unless you're absolutely desperate for that player and a little bit worried someone might take him from underneath your nose. Someone like Varane, for example, may not get too many bids in the first summer transfer window, so because of that, take your time. Take your time, barter with that club, negotiate with that club. At the end of the day, this is football. You don't have to go all the way and meet that player's valuation, because that those clubs might be a little less, less happy about it, but they'll still accept a lower than valuation bid, what they consider valuation bid for them, if you keep on bartering. It's not unheard of, and it will happen. So eventually, as you can see here with Real Madrid, they accepted our £40 million bill. We put in a contract for Varane, and as you'll see in just a moment's time, he did accept it as well. So Varane will become the third signing for Manchester City, as all those players keep on getting sold in the background here. Varane for £40 million, 150 grand a week, and again, it is £10 million over his valuation, his in-game valuation, but of course Real Madrid wanted about £53 million for the guy. We don't go to £53 million, we go to £40 million. That's how you get your best deals. You barter with the club. You start off a valuation bid and you gradually raise the bid. Don't go all out and give the club exactly what they want. That's what they want you to do. Don't go all the way out. Just take your time, and eventually you'll be able to sign him for less than what they're asking for. So Varane comes in, another signing right there, the third one of the episode so far, and there's still more to come. Yes, as I'm losing my voice here. So the fourth signing I recommend for Manchester City is yet another central midfielder. This guy is called Koke. He plays for Atletico Madrid, 24 years old, 84 overall. I'm sure you've heard of him. Very talented Spanish midfielder, and one of the best things about this guy, as you can see, we also sell Yaya Toure here as well to Bayern Munich for a little under his valuation. One of the best things about Koke is what we discussed in the Juventus who to sign for. well. He's one of those versatile players. This guy can play on either side of midfield, left and right, and also through the middle as well, which is really, really good because City, of course, in the first season, if you're using Guardiola's formation in-game, which is the three at the back, you will want to have a player that can play CM, LM, and RM as well, because it means that you're not going to sacrifice quality by playing someone out of position. When you look at Koke, to be able to play, that didn't really make much sense there, did it? When you look at Koke and you look at his stats as well, he's got the attributes to play in those midfield positions, which are deeper, more further forward, and also out wide as well. I can't tell you how important that is in career mode, to have a player that can play in a range of different positions. It's so important. Utility players really are underrated in career mode. They really, really are. And Koke is a really awesome utility midfielder. He can play all across the midfield, all across that four, if you will, deeper, further forward, and out on the wings as well. He's a really, really awesome player in FIFA. And again, you can get him for around £43 million. That's what I spent. Once again, it's a little over his in-game valuation, but less than what the club wanted. So £43 million for Koke. And again, we offer him a contract in just a moment's time, and you'll see what we can get him for. But the fifth and final signing I would look to make for Manchester City is this guy right here as well, Serge Aurier. Now, as I said, in the game, they'll be using a three at the back, Manchester City, so you may wonder why I'm going for a fullback. Well, three at the back doesn't suit everyone. And once you sold Bakary Sagna, once you sold Pablo Zabaleta, you don't really have a good right back at your club anymore. You've got the young guy, Maffeo, who looks pretty decent as a young talent, but you probably want a good fullback anyway. And Serge Aurier is one of the best right backs you can sign in the game. Starts off 83 overall, gets to 88 potential at his peak. A really, really awesome player. And again, even if you're not using fullbacks in a four at the back, in a three at the back formation, three at the back does not suit everyone. So because of that, if you do want to switch to a four at the back at some point, you'll need a good right back. And Serge Aurier, again, one of the best you can buy. 83 overall, 88 potential. A really, really solid fullback, and he'll grow in the background even if you're not playing him that much anyway. So we signed Koke for £43 million. Just a really awesome player. High crossing stat, and again, this guy can play out wide on the flanks, LM or RM. High work rates, you know what I love, and also in the midfield positions as well, the central midfield positions I should say as well. So you can play the guy a little bit deeper alongside Gundogan and Verratti, alternate between those three players, or do what I did, which is play him on the right side of midfield, take out Nolito, put him on the bench, and have him on the right and Sterling on the left. And as for Serge Aurier, again, he won't really get into your first 11 in the first season if you do plan on sticking to the three at the back formation, but you can put on the guy on the bench. If you ever want to switch to a four at the back, you know you've got this guy as your right back. He's a physical monster, Serge Aurier. High work rates once again. A really, really awesome player. So in the end, you spend £185.5 million on 5 new players. The most amount of money I've ever spent in the transfer window ever in this Who to Sign For series. £185.5 million on those 5 players. But again, when you think about the 5 players you're buying, Varane 91 potential, Verratti 90 potential, Koke 88 potential, Aurier 88 potential, and Icardi 87 potential. When you look at this Manchester City side, it's absolutely monstrous. It's an amazing, amazing team. What a side it is. And all 5 of those signings, again, being in their early 20s, would be really awesome players to go into your first team, have a role in your first team in the first season, also continue to get better and better year after year. And don't forget as well, you get about £82 million for the sale of 8 old players. Boni, Navas, Zabaleta, Fernandinho, Clichy, Caballero, Touré, and Bakary Sagna as well. So you get £82 million for those 8 players as well. So you're still not losing as much money as you may think, even though you're spending £185 million. But anyway, of course, City's objectives were to win the league and the cup as well. As you can see, they did win the league come the end of the simulated season, which is fantastic. They held off Spurs, who finished in second place. Sadly, though, they did not win the FA Cup. They got to the final, but couldn't go all the way and win that trophy like we were supposed to, as we lost to Arsene Wenger's Arsenal on a penalty shootout. A bit of a shame, but one of those things. However, what I would say is this: I would still consider this a successful season, despite failing the domestic cup objective, because they won the Champions League, their first ever. They beat Bayern Munich by 2-1 in the final after the simulation, and that'll be their first ever Champions League trophy won with Manchester City. And if you were to say to the City fans come the start of this season, okay guys, you're going to win the league and you're going to win the Champions League and reach the FA Cup final, would you be happy with that? Would they bite your hand off? Of course they would. That would be an absolutely fantastic season for Manchester City, a league and Champions League double, and of course the FA Cup final. Not winning it would be a disappointment, but it still wouldn't really mean too much in the game for you. The board wouldn't sack you because you didn't win the FA Cup final. They wouldn't really mind too much at all. So I think that's a really successful first season for City, and again, with the money they have, with the signings you make, with the players they have already, some good young talent coming through with City right now, you would definitely say this team is set up to dominate English football and possibly European football in years to come as well. It's a really, really amazing side. It's got got so much talent in there, so many amazing players, some really good depth as well. And again, with those 5 signings you make, it's a lot of money. £185.5 million. It's the most I've ever spent. But again, when you're raising about £80 million for selling those old players, this is all about the transition with City. You're getting rid of the old guard, you're bringing in the young blood. This is the new look Manchester City, and what a team this is. Absolutely fantastic. And again, you can definitely dominate European football as well as English football as well with this sort of team in many years to come with the right signings right from the first season. So those are the players I would sign for a Manchester City career mode, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this episode and enjoyed these tips as well. Much love to you all, and don't forget to let me know in the comment section down below who you want to see me do next in the Who to Sign For series. I think I'll go back and do another foreign team, so let me know in the comment section down below. But thank you for watching the video. Please do leave a like if you did enjoy it. Don't forget to comment and suggest me another team for the next episode of the Who to Sign For series, and I'll see you for the next episode of Who to Sign For very soon. And again, sorry about my throat today. I sound terrible, don't I?